Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by my playing partner, Mr. Andrew Hansen, and we are here to discuss the Farmers Insurance Open. How are you doing this evening? We're recording on Monday night because we have the early, very strange tournament starting on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm doing well, Coach, after a great week last week in golf for us, but it just feels funny Monday night here in the dark to be recording for Wednesday, the early start. But hey, we're getting on top of it this week to get ready to kind of keep this momentum going.
Absolutely. It was a great week. We cashed all over the place on all the sites, did great. I hate to, be a whiner, but man, if Rahm and Cantlay could have put it together at all on the weekend, it could have been boxcars, but it was still great. But I was disappointed those two didn't really show up on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when all the value plays hit, and you were on Hoagie, who was tremendous. I mean, we won on every site. We didn't get the first place takedowns because of Cantlay and Rom, but we
Yeah.
had some great lineups. I had a top 5 on the weekend on DK with
Yeah.
our GPP core. We had some strong wins from our members. So yeah, I'm excited, and maybe if we hit the value plays again this week, our studs will hit as well.
I hope so. And like I said at the opening, it's really bizarre. And I challenge anybody that knows of a tournament in the PGA that's been scheduled on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not finishing on Sunday. I've seen them finish on Monday. I don't think this has ever happened before. And they mentioned they were doing it strictly to avoid football on Sunday, which I thought was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think it's smart. And it's fun because without football on Saturday this week, it'll just be hoops and golf on Saturday night,
Yeah.
and then all football and basketball on Sunday.
It's going to be great. Definitely get your lineups in. Everybody's going to be screwed up. They're going to be going on there Thursday morning to enter contests, and it's going to be too late.
Right.
So we'll definitely go over some stuff here. Um, Again, just sort of to set the table here, it's the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines Municipal course that anybody can play, by the way. So that's pretty cool. Definitely want to do that. That's a bucket list thing for me. Um, then and Saturday and Sunday, one is played on the North Course and one on the South Course. Then on not the weekend, I can't say that. See, Friday and Saturday, they're played on the South Course. And how about the distance here? I'd be in deep trouble. Par 72, just 7,700 yards, the longest of the season. That is challenging.
They don't mess around on that South Course,
No,
and
no.
it's a big issue here and important to keep track of, and kind of study this tournament and the location because 3 of the 4 rounds will be on that longer South Course. The North Course is about 500 yards shorter at 7,200,
Right.
and last year it played almost 4 strokes easier on
Wow.
average.
Yeah.
So if you're going to play round 1 or round 2 alone, just load up on the guys who are playing on the North Course,
Yeah.
and I think you'll have an edge for sure. And the South Course is important because this is where they played the U.S. Open last year that John Rahm won
Yeah.
in dramatic fashion down the stretch with those clutch putts in the last 2 holes. But in that event, they only played the South Course,
Right.
and it was a par 71. Winning score was 6 under. So if it had been par 72, it would have been 10 under. But the winning scores here in the last few years have been right around 10 to 15 under
Yeah.
as the norm. So it's a lot different than what we had last week, Coach, where it was, got to get to the 20s to have a chance.
Yeah. I mean, I love watching the Hawaii golf in the beginning, these first few tournaments, but it gets a little old watching, eagle putt, birdie putt, 30 under and all this craziness. Now it gets real. I mean, if you're not hitting the ball, the combination of long and straight, you're in trouble and you're not going to score. So I know, you dove into the stats there. We chatted a little bit about it ahead of time, and that is the key. I mean, indicating who the guys are that can drive it long, because you have to be long, 7,700 yards. Good luck for the short hitters here. But you also have to be straight, because you will be penalized for spraying the ball around. You can't get away with it like you did in these last couple of tournaments. So, I think it's going to be a great tournament. A lot of the guys are playing that hadn't played in previous weeks now. We got JT and a bunch of guys back. So this should be a fantastic tournament. So let's dive in with right off the bat. Why don't we talk about, since it's so important, we'll go off order than we normally do. Let's talk about your statistic of total driving, because I think that's really the nutshell. I mean, last week, if you heard Rahm, he was really complaining afterwards. A few other golfers were rumbling. They thought because the setup of the course, it just literally became a putting contest.
Right.
Everybody was putting it on the greens. Who was going to make the putts, especially of distance, was going to win. So I think it was a lot of belly aching. But the bottom line is that's not the situation here. Certainly you have to be making putts to win anything or be in a top 10, but that's not the complete deal. I mean, getting there is going to be what wins you or gets you in that top group.
Yeah, it's kind of reverse from last
Exactly.
week for sure. So let's look at the guys who are really high in that stat this year, total driving for the
Okay.
current season. And Sam Burns is the highest ranked guy in that category, right ahead of John Rahm, who's going to be talked about all week here.
Oh, yeah.
As a former winner of this event, as the winner of the U.S. Open, and because of that viral video, the video that went viral last week. But of course, he's a great driver of the golf ball. That's why he's number one in the world. Sung Jae Im is actually tied with Rahm, tied for fifth in that stat. He finished tied for 11th last week.
Yeah.
So he's rounding into form. Then we've got a couple of surprise names to me in the top 10, Coach. We've got Ricky Fowler, who's actually seventh in total driving this year.
Wow.
Not a ton of events, but he missed the cut last week, first event after the birth of his child. So we'll see if he's knocked off some of the rust. He's going to need to be sharp here. Jordan Spieth is next. We know that he's had a lot of ball striking issues over the last few years. He's gotten back into form, and he's going to need that this week. Then we start to get some value plays here. Jonathan Vegas is 10th in total driving. He's 7,400. He missed the cut last week he was 5 under though, so it was a low cut. He has had some decent finishes here, 20 to 30 range. So he's a mid-tier option you could go to. Then we've got Martin Laird, really cheap option, 6,600, coming off a layoff, hasn't played much. Emiliano Griot, here's one I'm kind of interested in because he's only 6,700 this week on DraftKings.
Yeah.
He's a player. He made the cut last week. He tied for 12th in the Farmers Insurance Open back in 18. So that's a guy I like. It's always good to have one guy in the 6K range you can get excited about on DraftKings.
Yeah, and he definitely can knock it out there.
Yeah, and then the last few are mostly value plays as well. Hayden Buckley, 6,900, Korn Ferry Tour guy, but he did tie for 12th at the Sony a couple weeks ago. Corey Connors, one of your favorites. I'm a big fan as well.
Yeah.
8,800. And then Hudson Swafford, winning last week certainly helped the stats for him. Kevin Streelman, one of my go-to veterans, 7,300. And then
He
Davis
always
Riley
comes up every week for somehow.
Yeah, we never go more than 2 weeks or so without saying his name.
Never.
So that's the list. So really a lot of mid-tier value guys. So to me, it's a situation where maybe you pluck one or two out of that group, but we also have a lot of course history here from this event and the U.S. Open that we can look at.
Definitely. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to take any of the short hitters. I know, a lot of times they can make their way around some of these courses, but just the setup and this course, I don't think, unless you really can smash the ball, you're going to be in big trouble. I just don't see how they're going to do it. But no, great points and some interesting guys. Some guys I would not have guessed were that that far up on the list. But and definitely some guys missing that I thought would be on there. So again, just you can't just be long, like you say, you have to be straight as well. That combination is so key. Let me throw my norm because it's worked well, so we might as well stick with what's working. The top 5 finishers the last three years, and I'll just give them that snapshot like we've been doing. And if you want to pick one or two of them out to comment on. Last year, we had Patrick Reed, Tony Finau, Mr. Hovland, Mr. Norlander, and my buddy Ryan Palmer.
Yeah, those guys all tied for second.
Yes.
And then Xander was up there as well. Hovland's not playing this week.
Right.
Yeah, but
Hovland and McIlroy not playing as well.
yeah, exactly. They've been playing overseas, so they probably just didn't want to do the travel.
Yeah.
So Finau, I like, 4 of the last 5, he's been in the top 10 in this event.
Yeah.
He's not as expensive as, the really top tier guys this week on DraftKings.
Right.
Norlander, 6,700, so he's in that group with Griot that you could look at. He's made a couple of cuts here recently, but nothing special.
Yeah.
Ryan Palmer, I'm kind of more interested in him than usual. Really good course history. It wasn't just that finish.
Right.
And he tied for 12th at the Sony. He was third in strokes gained off the tee. So, if he's coming in here feeling good about his driver at 8,100, I like him. Are you on him this week?
Yeah, he's on my list. I haven't made the final lineup yet because I'm still out of sync a little bit that it's Monday, but
right.
He's definitely on my list. I think his price is very fair for his ranking and his history on the course. So I'm with you on that one. But Finau, I wanted to mention, he's T5 or better on all 3 of these lists, Andrew. I don't know if we've ever had that happen before.
He's rock solid. I'm pretty sure we played him in the US Open last year because of that.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just thinking of
No, we did. And I don't think he did what we wanted him to do.
No, I don't think he did. So maybe that's why he got on your bad side again. But
yeah,
or maybe
I
I'm
just
just
don't
thinking
see
about
him as a finisher. But
yeah.
but 3 T5s in a row or better. That's
I mean, just think about when he drives it. He just destroys the ball.
He does
straight down the fairway. He's incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, just he's so gifted as a driver.
He should have had 3-4 wins under his belt easy by now.
Yep.
It's hard to believe. All right, let's go to the year before that. It's Leishman, who I play a lot. John Rahm, who's going to be chalky. Let's just face it, Rahm's going to be chalky. Snedeker, my buddy Hoagie, and then Finau again.
Yeah, still like Finau. Snedeker is another value play I'm interested in. He's 7,400 this week on DraftKings. I wish he was in the 6K range.
Yeah.
But talk about course history. And, he's hanging on. He's battling. He's competing. He was tied for 14th last week. So he's definitely my player pool.
Yeah, I like, his chances of making the cut. And again, we always talk about it, but we always have to mention it is you just got to if you can get your 6 guys through, man, you're sitting pretty good. Unlike any other DFS sport, it's really making that cut is so massively important. I also want to mention, because you made a good point, if you're playing the single days, certainly to bet on the guys that are playing the North Course, that's much easier. But also wanted to mention there's no really weather that's going to affect it. Like you did a fantastic job last week of pointing out when it was going to get windy on that La Quinta course, and it made a huge difference because it was about a 2.3 shots. They mentioned it right on the program for the guys that had a plate in the wind that shot less than the guys that played it before. But this week, it's just follow bet on the North Course guys, but the weather should not change at all.
Yeah, and then in general, it's going to be, I looked at what you posted in Discord, low 60s, right? But sunny, wind about 10 to 12 miles an hour each day. So, fair conditions, consistent conditions throughout the week is what it's looking like.
Yeah, and 10 miles an hour wind there is nothing. I mean, it's literally a cliff on the ocean. So, that's just a breeze. But that should be nice. San Diego weather is amazing. It's one of the nicest places I've been to. It's just beautiful. All right, the third year back, Rose Gooch Matsuyama, who is on my list, Day, and then guess who? Tony Finau.
Yeah, right. The guy just shows up at this event. So
Yeah,
Rose and Day, kind of interested in those guys. They're veterans. Um, kept an eye on them last week. They both made the cut. Rose finished 33rd. Day finished 49th. And the
yeah,
thing with Jason Day, who won it the year before,
right.
what you're talking about, is I heard on the broadcast this week that it's the healthiest he's felt in a long time.
Hmm.
We know he's dealt with various injuries at the back.
Yeah,
So I love to hear that, but now I just wonder, all right, he played 4 rounds. Now he's going back-to-back weeks. How is he going to hold up physically? I mean, is he in such good shape that he's just going to be the old Jason Day week in and week out? I don't know. I mean, I'm intrigued by him because
yeah.
he's feeling better and he's a decent price. I just wonder about, the stamina at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's a tough call on the guys. And I think of Rose and Scott in the same breath because they're guys that were so dominant. I mean, they were both number one, I believe, in the world, or at least close to it at some point. But once you had those injuries and you start getting older, those of us that have lived that, we know that you just can't quite get back to where you were. I mean, your brain thinks you can, but physically you can't. So, and it's hard. I'm sure these guys, you get out there against these, bombers that are hitting at 375 and everything. And you got to think, man, what, can I compete with these youngsters? But I don't know. Those guys, it's one of those things where I've been steering away from the older guys that have been the fringe players because it seems like they're not grinding like the other guys. Like, if I can make this cut, this means X amount of dollars. I get, I get in as an alternate next week, whatever the case may be. These guys are set for life 10 times over. And it's like, if they get disinterested, that's when I think, they're not putting the pedal to the metal and grinding it out. So just a theory that seems to have been working lately.
Yeah, it's something that concerns me as well for guys like Snedeker, who's
Right.
made, tens of millions of dollars,
Yep.
uh, not motivated, you would think, by that at this point. And I've seen him on some events in the last couple of years where he's sort of on the borderline of the cut and down the stretch. It doesn't really seem like he's grinding on
Right.
like the 15th hole, on his, I got to make this 25-foot birdie. He's just kind of lagging it up there. And he's such a great putter. He often makes it. But
Right.
yeah, guys in that vein, definitely makes me hesitate because of that reason.
Yeah. I'll tell you, on the opposite side, those guys, if they can sniff 5, 6 strokes from the lead, then all of a sudden that old, momentum kicks in. So it can get you either way, but
Yep.
I'm trying to steer clear of it just a bit. So, all right, let's go to the odds because Vegas, they let me down last week with my Cantlay and Rahm or bust, but we're back to chalky John Rahm again, Andrew. He's 7.5 to 1, like prohibitive. How do you say it?
Prohibitive.
Prohibitive favored is what I'm trying to say. It's too late in the day, man. It's been a long
Yeah.
one. But do you believe in that 7.5 to 1 in Vegas, saying you have to play him and just plug him in DFS and forget about it? What do you think?
I think it's a fair odds spot for him. I don't think you have to play him on DraftKings. I think there's pretty good depth here. Um, and I'm actually thinking of some lineups here where I don't play any of the top 10 or 8 to 10 guys on DraftKings. I think you can go middle range and really get strong through the core of your lineup. Haven't played with FanDuel as much. I imagine it's a little bit easier to fit him in there. So I'm more likely to
Yeah.
play him over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's won't be comfortable if I fade him on DraftKings, but I probably will do that in my cash lineup.
See, I'm going ride or die, man. He's going to be in every damn lineup for me. I just, I looked at his prices. I watched him a lot last week because he was so key to my squad. He was so frustrated and agitated, didn't like the setup. You could tell he was just not himself, but yet he was still in the picture. I mean, he was on the first, page of the leaderboard there for a while. And I mean, he's just so damn good. And I feel like he comes in here so confident, so determined, and I don't know if he really feels pressure. I think he just, is immune to that at this point. So I'm rolling with him.
Can't fault you for it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he deserves to be the odds-on favorite to win it.
Yeah. So I need a couple of your Andrew special value plays to make it
Okay.
work.
All right.
All right, let me
So
give you the next five like I normally do.
okay.
And you can tell me if anything surprises you. Justin Thomas, fresh off new, back in the mix, 12-1. Shoffley, as you mentioned, 15-1, always a threat. Matsuyama, who, man, does he look like he's playing some golf. He's 18-1. And then Smash and Dash DeChambeau is 19-1.
Yeah, I don't think I'll go with Bryson. Apparently, he's got a bit of a wrist issue, a little bit of discomfort.
Yeah.
Xander's the guy that I'm just wondering about. We've talked a lot through these various events about
Yeah.
the fact that he's basically the local guy here. Um, he's cheaper than a lot of those other guys at the top,
Mm-hmm.
so he's definitely on my radar. Thinking about him, and would not be surprised at all if he wins this week.
I'm with you, man, and I love him, but I don't think I can afford him with Rom. You still got to
Right.
make a choice there. But
Yep.
I think you're right. I think he's a fantastic play. Then you have some really interesting group here. Dustin Johnson at 20, Daniel Berger 22, Sam Burns, who you mentioned leads in total driving, he's 22, and then my buddy Scotty Scheffler, who had a couple of hiccups this past week, is 24. What do you think of
Yeah.
that little group?
Well, great players. DJ first event in 2022, so I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
Scheffler played last week, made the cut, didn't drive it well.
No.
So I'm leaning towards fading him. I actually like Berger in that group.
Mm-hmm.
He tied for fifth in that Tournament of Champions in Hawaii. And when the guys played the U.S. Open here last year, he was tied for seventh in that event. So, comfortable here with the rough and the length, and so solid.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in Berger. He's right. He's $100 cheaper than Xander on DraftKings. So that's what I'm trying to decide between. If I go up to one of those, which one do I go to?
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not on the Sam Burns bandwagon here. I looked at him. I saw that total driving thing. I think he's dangerous. I don't know about to win it, but I sure feel good that he could be a top 20 guy.
Yeah, he fits it well. Great player, ascending. I just don't think he has as much history on this course as Xander and
Right.
Berger.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like process of elimination.
Yeah, yeah, I don't blame you. It's all those guys are playable. Then I think you get a great price, 28-1 on Tony Finau. And like I say, I've been doing this last three tournaments for half a year, and I don't remember having somebody in the top 5 3 years in a row. So 28-1, that seems cheap. Will Zalatoris, he looked good last week for not have played that course. He hung in there. He's dangerous, 28-1. Koepka's 33. Leishman, who we mentioned, is one here. He's 35. And then Jordan Spieth, 40-1. You don't normally get that price on him.
No, you don't. But I mean, just think of all the names you've gone through already. It's a pretty stacked field for a
Loaded.
regular event. Yeah. So to follow up on a couple of those guys, Koepka finished fourth in the U.S. Open here last year.
Yeah.
A little
And that was
expensive
on a
though.
bad leg.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So he's healthier now, but did not play well at the Tournament of Champions. He's expensive, so I probably will avoid him this week. Zalatoris is interesting because he missed the cut in the U.S. Open here last year, but in the actual Farmers Insurance Open, he finished top 10. And I just read an article about his new driver that he brought out last week, a longer driver, gave him a little bit of extra yardage, and he's excited about it. Did well last week. So he's on my radar too.
I just wish he was a little bit cheaper, but I'm
Yeah.
with you. I like him. This group blows my mind that they're way down the list here. Patrick Reed 40-1. My man Corey Connors 48-1, 50-1 on Gooch, 60-1 on McNeely, Homa, and Wolf.
Yeah, so Wolf played really poorly last week, so I'm not going to play him.
Yeah.
Homa actually missed the cut here at the U.S. Open, and he has done all right in the Farmers,
Okay.
but I'm not thrilled about that group.
Okay.
I guess nobody really jumps out at me.
No Gooch. He's been in play
He
lately.
has, he has.
Yeah. All right, last group, and then we'll move on here. Brisenhout, I can never say his name. Bisenhout, Neiman, Palmer. We mentioned 66-1. Horschel, Siwoo Kim, and Red Hot too, 61.
Yeah, I'll take Palmer
Yeah,
because of his great course history here. Horschel I like in general, but he missed the cut at the U.S. Open here, so hasn't done quite as well.
yeah,
For me, from that group, it's Palmer.
Palmer. Yeah, I agree, and I think he's priced right as well. All right, excellent. Let's go to what everybody's tuned in here for. What are Andrew's value plays? Who's he going to throw up there today that we can plug in and make work in some of these guys? And you definitely helped me with some of the guys this week. So who's high on your list?
Yeah, it was Brian Harmon was the guy last week. The birthday boy. The narrative played out well for a top 5 finish.
Awesome.
Um,
Lebiota too.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll give you 2.
Okay.
Coming out of the U.S. Open from last year, we've talked about where a lot of the guys finished: Rahm, Koepka, Berger, top 10, Scheffler, Xander. But right outside that top 10 is the first mid-tier value play guy I'm looking at. It's good old Francesco Molinari.
Yeah.
Yeah, finished tied for 13th at the U.S. Open here. He finished tied for 10th at the Farmers Insurance here. And he finished tied for 6th last week
Yeah.
at the American Express. So he's back. I think he's got his eyes set on the Masters again for another top finish, and he's back in form. 7,600 on DraftKings. I mean, when that guy's on, it's just straight down the fairway, fairways and greens, kind of boring, but that's what you need here.
Definitely. And he had lost his game there for a
He,
while, but
yeah,
like you
yeah,
said, and he looked terrific this past week. His shots were all right on target. If he'd have made a few more putts, he'd have been in the thick of things there.
yep. So then the other guys from last year at the U.S. Open who did well, Streelman was on that list. He had a top 20. Your man
Okay.
Wolf, top 20. Mackenzie Hughes, 7,700. He's in consideration for me. First
Yeah.
start of 2022, though. Patrick Reed was top 20. Spieth, big names, JT, DJ. But then here's the next value play. He finished tied for 35th here. It's Lanto Griffin, who had a great finish last week,
Yeah.
but he's also played well here in the Farmers Insurance Open with a T7 and a T12. He's 7,700, so playing well. He's got to have a lot of confidence, great course history, makes it work. So he's another guy.
What's his price?
7,700 on DraftKings.
I love it. He was on my weekend only lineup that really got me home this
Yep.
weekend. He played so well, and he's long. He pounds the ball too. So
Yep.
I love that call.
Yep. Taller guy, a little extra length there.
Yeah.
So, hopefully some of those mid-tier guys, maybe not extreme value this week, low 6K range or anything like that. But, if you sprinkle in like 2 or 3 of those 7K guys, that's the build I'm feeling good about.
I like it. And I'll be doing that, probably 3 of them if I got to pay the ticket on Rahm. So
Exactly. Balance it
yeah,
out.
definitely. But it should be a fun tournament. Like I say, it's going to be so weird Wednesday through Saturday, but it should be fun. I like that it's an extra day earlier. Like you said, it gives us another thing Wednesday to look at for sure. And there'll be great coverage on TV. They really cover this one well. So, the other thing that was an aberration with a few of these guys last week, like we mentioned, that being a pro-am last week, That makes it just so much more difficult. That agitated Rahm too, as you know, and a couple of the other guys too. So guys with short-tempered guys, I think that affected, a few more guys than you think. So the ill-tempered or short guys like that, I think they get a few strokes back this week because they don't have to deal with those guys chopping it around. Thank God, because with this length with amateurs, it would take 6 hours.
Oh yeah, it'd be rough with the long rough and the length. That would be real tough.
So that should make a little bit of a difference as well. All right, outstanding. Anything else that you want to throw out there for this week?
No, that's it. If you want the lineups, just jump in a day early. Make sure you join us on Tuesday because we give out our lineups to our members Tuesday night.
Yeah, and we didn't do any plugs, so we get to do a couple here at the end. If you don't disconnect just yet, hang on a second. DFSCoachTalk.com is where you can find us. We have as little as a 3-day pass for $10. We'd love to have you join there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, real quickly, thumbs up, hit that subscribe button before you disconnect, and give us a quick comment. That really helps us move up the algorithm on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio podcast, maybe out on the course in some of the warm weather places, I know in Maine you can't do this, but if you're out there hitting some drives and checking out the pod, when you're done, hit the 5 stars, make a little comment. That combination of two things, you get in a drawing at the end of the month for a full 1 week, full access Coach Talk membership. So we really appreciate those things. Hit the little alert button there in the upper corner if you're watching on YouTube. That will give you a heads up when any of our podcasts post. We've got the big NFL podcast coming this week for the final weekend of championship to see who goes to the Super Bowl. And then we've got basketball 7 days a week. And of course, this golf podcast a day early this week because of the weird timing on the tournament. So we really appreciate that. Appreciate everybody listening in. Stay tuned too for this coming week. We've got some live stream action coming up where we're going to be going on in the afternoons so we can discuss some of the NBA moves, what's going on, some of the player news and such. So we appreciate it. We know our golf listeners are growing little by little, sort of like the hit it straight and firm, and you're going to get it done. So we're going to keep winning. You guys keep listening, and we really appreciate it. So have a fantastic week, and definitely tune in again tomorrow to listen to our basketball show, and later this week for football. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we'll see you again next week when we look to crush it in PGA DFS.